Hi everyone, my name is Jacob with Classic Trim Parts, and today on the R129s I'll show you how to replace the rear deck trim piece. That is these plastic pieces found on the rear deck cover. Over time they may crack or degrade from the weather, and we offer a lifetime guarantee from cracking at Classic Trim Parts, so you could replace these with no worry from us. You want to begin with the deck cover in the upright position, which is another common problem on these cars. If your deck cover does not stay up, you'll want to replace the one gas strut. You could find it through the trunk here. It's just one gas strut on the left side, and that's what will support the deck cover and hold it up. But to begin this tutorial, you want to start with some sort of cloth underneath the entire deck cover, because we will be taking it off. It's not necessary, but it is much easier if you do it that way. So after you have a cloth underneath, you'll want to somehow mark where this piece of metal is aligned with the deck cover, either with masking tape or some other way, so when you replace the deck cover this will be aligned properly, and you'll do that on both sides. But it is easier to remove this if you have two people. What you could do is remove these two bottom 10mm bolts on both sides, and then lastly the top on each side with two people, so you could both remove this at the same time. So it's much easier to do it that way than try to do it all by yourself. So here I've got the bottom two bolts removed, as well as you can see just a little outline of Sharpie that I used to show the alignment of this piece here. But also, one thing you're going to want to do, make sure you have a plastic bag. It's very easy to lose these bolts, whether they fall down into here or wherever. You may not be able to find them again. So I've got the entire deck cover inside now, and it's laying on a table with a towel here just so you don't scratch or damage anything while you're working. And just to show you why we marked off the location of that bracket is because these screws here are on a movable plate, so you just want to be sure to align them back up to where they were when you put the cover back on. And some of the tools you'll need for this next step: needle nose pliers, something for 9mm bolts, 5.5mm bolts, and then a trim removal tool or just anything that will fit into a thin gap. And what you're going to want to do is remove all of these 9mm bolts. So there's 9 running down the bottom, there are 5 running up the side here, and then there's 2 5.5mm bolts on each side. You do not need to remove these, just loosen them enough, because these are what actually hold the rear deck trim piece in. And these bolts are what hold the trim piece on the outer edge of the deck cover in place. So we're going to be removing that outer trim piece, and I'll show you how to do that. So I've got this one bolt loosened here, one of the 9mm, and to remove it you're just going to want to take the needle nose pliers and grab it out of there. And another reason why we have these is because sometimes this rubber washer piece will come detached when you're removing it, so you want to make sure to grab these so you could reuse them. Don't let them get stuck in there. And also, if you lose any of these, we sell these as a set on our website as well. So I've got all of the 9mm bolts as well as the rubber washers removed. Again, just make sure to get those out of the holes. So all around they are removed, and then once again the 5.5mm, the 2 on each side, you'll want to just loosen those. You don't have to remove them. And next we're going to flip this over to the other side. Just be careful because this outer trim piece on the other side is going to be loose. So now this is where that trim piece removal tool will come in handy. You want to just slide it underneath this piece and kind of just pop it up all the way around. As long as all those 9mm bolts are removed, this will come loose. You want to work your way from the end towards the middle and just start on the other end as well and work your way back until you get to the middle. So I went ahead and removed this all around. It's pretty much free now, and I just wanted to show you that there's some sort of sealant here on the rear deck trim pieces that they used, so just be careful not to get that on any of the leather or wherever. Just be sure to clean that up when you're working. And now these are pretty much free because the only thing that was holding them in were those 5.5mm bolts. So those are loose, and they secure it on this little pronged piece. Those bolts just hold that in place for you. And those bolts will, see, they did fall out right there. So just watch that. Make sure not to lose them because they may slide out of the channel once you remove this piece. And again, on this side as well, all those 9mm bolts that we removed, these screws here are able to just slide out of this channel. So just be sure not to lose any if they fall out of here. Just be careful with that because you don't want to lose any of those screws. So I went ahead and flipped the entire trim piece over and put the 5.5mm bolts back in the channel here. And what you can do is prepare the rear deck trim piece you're going to install. There's going to be a rubber piece that runs through this little channel here. You can clip that with scissors. I just cut it basically to the end here. It does not need to stick out like that. And then just slide it in place. There may be some sort of, like I said, the sealant or padding here. You don't need a lot of it. You can get rid of it if it interferes with you installing this. But just slide the bolts in place so you can put that in, and slide it in over here underneath that piece. And you'll want to just grip it like this so you can hold this secure here, and then tighten these two bolts. I've got it all installed now. It's secured in there, and you'll notice there are these little white markings on the channel here. That is where all of the screws for the 9mm bolts are going to go. And what you'll have to do is just make sure all of the screws are aligned, and then you'll have to flip the entire trim piece over so you could put it back into the entire deck cover. So that is the kind of difficult part of this. It's a bit finicky because they will slide around, but it is good that they have the markings here because you know where they go. It's just a matter of keeping them in place to align them into their respective slots here. So I've got all of the screws here aligned with the white markings, and the easiest way to get this back together is to lay this trim piece down flat, and then you're going to flip this deck cover onto it so these screws don't really have a chance to move, and as long as they're all aligned, they should fit right into the slots that they were in. And then you'll just screw on the 9mm bolts here. Again, we have these for sale if you happen to lose any in the process. Right, so everything here is aligned with the white lines here. I'm pretty much just going to drop this in, and as long as you don't move any of the screws, they should fit right in. So it looks like everything's pretty much lined up. You're going to just push the trim piece together, and before you secure anything on, you just want to make sure everything is in the correct slot. So start from the middle and work your way down to the edges. So it looks like everything is lining up. It's not going to really stay put until you start putting it together with the bolts, but as long as everything fits in, you should be good to start screwing, again from the middle, and work out. And as you come up the side here, you'll want to start gripping the trim piece just to make sure the bolts here are making full contact and that it's completely secured down once you get all the bolts in place. So I'm almost done with this one half, and then I can work on the other. The reason we start from the middle is because if for some reason these bolts become unaligned, you kind of have a little bit of leeway. You could kind of shove something in there to try to put it back into place. It just makes it a lot easier. So somehow one of these screws here just broke off on me, but I do have some more. They're on our website if you need them, if that happens to you as well. But basically what I'm doing, I'm just using the trim tool and just sliding the screw over into the correct position right here so I don't have to take the entire thing off again. So now I've got everything done here. All of the bolts are tightened up again, and what you want to look for before going down to the car, just make sure, especially here, compare it to that side over here. It should be the same amount of gap. I did have to do it over again because one of the sides, this piece was up further, but it should be flush with this. And then check the sides here, just make sure there really isn't any gaps. It might involve unscrewing and retightening again these bolts just to fix that gap. You could also check on the other side, just along the leather, see if it is flush. I flipped it over, just checking across the leather, making sure everything looks flush, which it is. And again, over here, you'll want to make sure this piece here looks aligned properly. There shouldn't be any major misalignments, like if one side is, there's a larger gap on one side than the other, but everything looks good. So we're going to bring it back down to the car, and I'll show you how to put it back on. So I've got the deck cover back on again, and with two people, you just align it on both sides, screw the bolts in a little bit, and then it is extremely important to have these markings here, like I said before, because the deck will not close properly, it may not lock properly if you don't align it back up to where this bracket was when you began. So either with masking tape, using it sort of as a ruler, or Sharpie like I did, just use something to mark that bracket so this cover will close properly again. And if it doesn't, all you'll have to do is really just make small adjustments on either side, up or down, until it actually locks over here, and the seals, there's no gap around the edges here. So that will be all. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Otherwise, thank you for watching.